Welcome. I am a lay Shin Buddhist who nevertheless maintains an interest in the broader realm of Pure Land and Mahayana Buddhist teachings. My YouTube channel is called Akala Akala, that is A-C-A-L-A, A-C-A-L-A. In these podcasts, I make a non-scholarly, humble, and sometimes bumbling attempt to explore a particular topic or question related to the wonderful Buddha Dharma. I hope you find them to be of interest. With that said, let us begin. So, you probably are not aware, although you may be based on input from one or another of my YouTube videos, that I live in an area where there basically are no Buddhist temples, no Buddhist groups in my particular hometown. So I'm pretty isolated. Just as a sidebar, there is, in the eastern part of the United States, a temple in the Washington, D.C. area called the Koji Temple, and I have attended there. In fact, I underwent a Sarana affirmation ceremony there once back in the day, where I was given the name Daigyo, which means great practice, which of course in our tradition is Namo Amida Butsu, which is said for gratitude, not actually as a practice. It's actually a non-practice. But getting back to the point of this podcast is, I have attended from time to time activities at a local Episcopal church where they actually are quite welcoming of people of various faith traditions. And the rector there, he's conducting a book review group. There are probably about a dozen or so folks gathering once every couple of weeks to discuss a 3 chapters each time of the book called Holy Envy, Finding God in the Faith of Others. It's by Barbara Brown Taylor, who herself is an Episcopal priest. And it portrays her experience of teaching basically a world religions course, or Religion 101, at a local college in her particular area. And just to mention another side comment is that I myself have been invited to a couple of different community colleges in our area where the instructors are teaching world religion and wanted somebody to give input on Buddhism. And I've been happy, in fact, even delighted to do that. But in any case, in this book, she sort of reflects in a very honest way on her experience of being exposed to these different religious traditions. And to some extent, relative to different ones of them, she actually sees elements within those traditions that she regrets are not more robust within her own Christian tradition. Although, at the end of the day, this journey that she goes on, so to speak, does end up, I think, causing her to gain more of an appreciation for her own tradition. And, the point can be made there that, in a general sense, people probably are most well served by enhancing their understanding and appreciation for the faith or tradition in which they grew up, because that's the one that's most familiar to them. Although that tradition, that perspective can and probably should be broadened to the extent at least that there's tolerance for people of other traditions and faiths. This, I think, is part of why the Dalai Lama says to people sometimes, he says, my purpose is not to have you to become a Buddhist. Rather, I would like to see you become a better of whatever you are, which is an amazing, amazing kind of sentiment. But anyway, what I'm getting to here is that in one chapter of her book, she says that there's one aspect of this holy envy dynamic that keeps her up at night, since it leads her further from home than she really wanted to go. And she says this happens when I envy something in another tradition that is so foreign to my own, or so absent from it, that taking it seriously means questioning one of my basic assumptions about how divine reality works. And so in the next paragraph, she goes on to say, this is what happened when I encountered the Buddhist teaching that human beings are responsible for our own destiny, with no divine mediator to erase our mistakes or offer us a free pass to salvation. Our words and actions have natural consequences, which affect everyone around us. Some lead to joy and some to sorrow, but no one else can handle them for us. They are ours to handle and to learn from as best as we are able. When the Buddha himself lay dying, his disciples asked him how they could possibly go on without him. Who would guide them after he was gone? "Be lamps unto yourselves," he told them. "Rely on yourselves, and do not rely on external help. Hold fast to the truth as a lamp." Now, what she's doing, of course, is reflecting the perspective and doctrine of what I think of as early Buddhism, or the Theravadan tradition, or the teachings that we can best imagine were stated or said by the historical Buddha Sakyamuni. And in that early form of Buddhism, based on his supposed oral teachings, it is very much a self-power-oriented kind of tradition. But as we know, as Buddhism evolved into the Mahayana, we developed the concept of a great number of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas at a cosmic level who inhabit the universe. And of course, we all know the story of the one who has most relevance for us, which is Dharmakara Bodhisattva making his 48 vows and becoming Amida Buddha, who gives to us, on the basis of his primal vow, a free pass to salvation, to use Reverend Taylor's terms. He gives us a free pass in the sense that he recognizes that it is extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible, for us to overcome our lust, our anger, our ignorance. And that on that basis, that's why he created the vow. That's why he committed himself to create a pure land of bliss where we can be reborn when we die by simply entrusting in him. Now, we have to then ask, is this the same as the Christian dynamic? And most Buddhists would say, well, no, it's different. It's different in the sense that we base our belief in Amida and Sukhavati, or the Pure Land, on the shoulders of Mahayana Buddhism, which teaches non-duality. And frankly, I would say the same thing. But here's the thing. I think we have to acknowledge that the belief we have in Amida is based more fundamentally on something that resonates within us as being true in terms of how the universe functions. The feeling that we are accepted just as we are, never to be abandoned, by some force in the universe. And while in a technical sense, this differs from Christianity in terms of how we see our underlying doctrine within Mahayana Buddhism, insofar as the fact that it's more likely within Christianity that believers view God in a very dualistic way. The fact is that a lot of Pure Land Buddhists in history have also viewed Amida in a dualistic way. And that, I would put forth, is not necessarily a problem. The beauty of Mahayana Buddhism and the doctrines that evolved in such sutras as the Lotus Sutra and the notion of expedient means is that there are a variety of teachings that the Buddha uses to draw us in the direction of greater spirituality, greater movement toward the possibility of experiencing and expressing compassion in our lives. And to the extent that the Christian doctrine does that, I say that's a legitimate kind of approach to spirituality, just as viewing Amida in a more dualistic way is also legitimate, because, let's face it, that's the way our mind works. And most of us are preoccupied with just trying to make it in the world, just trying to make a living, trying to hold a job, trying to support a family, trying to cope with the various sundry problems that are associated with that dukkha that the historical Buddha told us is fundamental and inherent in this human life, in this world of samsara. So we can't expect every single Buddhist to be grounded in sunyata or prajna or wisdom in the deepest sense of the meaning of that word. But from that deep sense emerges this other kind of way of relating to reality in the context of there being an other power, whether we think of it as Amida or Jesus or God or Allah, that there is an other power in the universe, and that resonates with us, and that is true in the most meaningful sense, namely that it gives us a sense of comfort and allows us to muddle through in this world in a way that is more likely to be imbued with hope, with love, with charity, with compassion, and with patience, as we encounter people who are different than ourselves. Namo Amida Butsu. With that, I will sign off by reciting the Nembutsu in gratitude for being embraced and accepted just as I am by Amida Buddha, never, never to be abandoned. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.